Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Speaking Nerds channel. We are so genuinely happy that you are here with us right now. I'm your host, Maya.
And I'm John. And if this is your very first time joining us, oh my goodness, welcome. Seriously, welcome to what might just become your absolute favorite place on the entire internet to practice and improve your English. This channel exists for one reason only, to give you real English for real life. Not stiff textbook sentences, not robotic repetition, natural, confident, expressive English that actually works when you need it most.
And that really is everything we stand for here. So whether you have been watching us for months or you literally just found this channel 2 minutes ago, we are so glad you are here. You made a great decision today, and we do not take that lightly.
Now, before we go any further, we have one small but truly important favor to ask you. If you have not subscribed to this channel yet, please do it right now. Just find that subscribe button, it is right there, and press it. Then tap the bell icon so you never miss a single episode. We pour everything into this channel. Every script, every conversation, every example, it is made with love and it is made specifically for you. So please be part of this family. Hit subscribe and let's grow together.
We mean that with everything we have. Every like, every comment, every subscriber keeps this channel alive and keeps us going. So if this channel has ever helped you feel more confident in English, please show us some love right now by hitting that like button. It costs you nothing, and it genuinely means the world to us.
All right, now let's get into today's topic. And this one is something every single one of you can relate to.
Every single one. Today, we are talking about how to describe and discuss your study routine in English. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that sounds simple, but here's the thing. Talking about your study habits is something that comes up all the time in job interviews, in university applications, in conversations with classmates, professors, friends, colleagues. People ask, how do you study? Or what does your typical day look like? Or are you a morning person or a night owl? And if you want to answer those questions in fluent, natural, impressive English, you need more than just, I study every day. You need the words, the phrases, the expressions that make your answer come alive.
Exactly. And this is honestly one of the most personal topics you can discuss in English because your study routine says something about who you are, how you manage your time, how you stay motivated, how you handle pressure, what environment you work best in. These are real, rich topics that deserve real, rich English to express them.
So today, we are going to give you all of that. Vocabulary, expressions, sentence structures, and a full, natural conversation between two people talking about exactly this topic. By the end of this episode, you are going to have so much more to say and so much more confidence to say it.
Let's jump right into vocabulary. And as always, we are going to give you words that are genuinely useful, words you will actually hear and use in real conversations, not just on a vocabulary list you memorize and forget.
First word, routine. A routine is a regular, habitual sequence of activities that you do consistently. I have a very strict morning routine that helps me stay focused. Building a study routine took me months, but now it feels completely natural. Notice, routine is both a noun and an adjective. It became routine for me to review my notes before bed every night.
Next, consistency. This noun means doing something regularly and reliably without big gaps or interruptions. Consistency is the most important factor in long-term learning. I struggled with consistency at first. I would study for 5 hours one day and then skip 3 days in a row. The adjective is consistent. A consistent study schedule will always outperform cramming at the last minute.
Then, productivity. This means how much useful, quality work you actually get done in a given period of time. I noticed that my productivity drops significantly after about 90 minutes of focused work. Some people are most productive in the morning. Others hit their peak in the late evening. The adjective is productive. I try to make the first 2 hours of my day my most productive.
And connected to that, focus. As a noun, focus means the ability to direct your attention and energy to one thing without distraction. Deep focus is becoming harder and harder in a world full of notifications. I use a timer to help me maintain focus for 30-minute blocks. As a verb, I find it difficult to focus when there is background noise.
Then, procrastination. Oh, this one everyone knows in their own language, even if they don't know the English word. Procrastination means delaying or postponing tasks that you should be doing right now. Procrastination is my biggest enemy when it comes to studying. I have a terrible habit of procrastinating. I will do absolutely anything to avoid sitting down and studying, and then I panic the night before. The verb is to procrastinate. I procrastinate most when I feel overwhelmed by how much there is to do.
Next, discipline. This is the ability to make yourself do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. Motivation gets you started, but discipline is what keeps you going. I genuinely admire people with strong self-discipline. I'm still working on mine. This word comes up a lot in conversations about study habits and success in general.
Then, retention. This refers to how well your brain holds on to information after you learn it. I found that writing notes by hand dramatically improved my retention. The goal of studying is not just to get through the material, it's to actually retain it. The verb is to retain. I struggle to retain information when I try to study too many subjects in one sitting.
And burnout. This is a state of complete physical and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged stress or overwork. I experienced serious burnout during my final exams. I was so exhausted I couldn't even read a full page. Avoiding burnout means building rest into your schedule, not treating it as a reward for finishing everything. This word is used incredibly widely now in academic contexts, workplace contexts, and everyday conversations.
Then, active learning. This phrase describes studying in a way that requires you to engage with the material, not just read or listen passively. Active learning techniques include things like summarizing in your own words, teaching the concept to someone else, or testing yourself. I switched from passive reading to active learning, and the difference in how much I retained was honestly remarkable.
And finally, time management. This phrase means the ability to plan and use your time in a way that helps you get the most important things done efficiently. Time management is a skill. It doesn't come naturally to most people. You have to develop it. Poor time management is the reason most students end up cramming the night before an exam.
Now, let's talk about expressions for describing your study habits naturally and vividly, because vocabulary gives you the ingredients, but expressions are what let you cook a real conversation.
First, I tend to. This is a beautiful, natural phrase for describing habitual behavior. I tend to study better when I have complete silence around me. I tend to lose focus after about an hour, so I build in short breaks. This sounds so much more natural than I always or I usually, though those are fine too. I tend to has a slightly more reflective quality, like you've actually thought about your own patterns.
Then, I have found that this phrase is perfect for sharing something you have learned about yourself through experience. I have found that reviewing my notes right before I sleep helps me remember them the next day. I have found that studying in the same place every day puts my brain into focus mode much faster. It sounds thoughtful and self-aware, which is exactly the impression you want to give.
I struggle with. This is a genuinely important phrase for talking about your challenges honestly. I struggle with staying off my phone when I am trying to study. I struggle with getting started. Once I am in it, I'm fine, but that first 10 minutes is brutal. Being able to talk about your weaknesses clearly and without embarrassment is a sign of real fluency and emotional intelligence.
One thing that works really well for me is this phrase lets you share a strategy or technique that has genuinely helped you. One thing that works really well for me is making a physical to-do list the night before. It means I wake up knowing exactly what needs to happen. One thing that works really well for me is studying the hardest subject first, while my energy is still high.
I used to, but now I. This is a fantastic structure for showing personal growth and change. I used to study with music playing, but now I prefer complete silence. I realized the music was distracting me more than I thought. I used to leave everything to the last minute, but now I try to spread my work across the whole week. It has completely changed my stress levels.
And it depends on. This phrase shows nuance. It shows that you understand your own habits are not always the same and vary depending on circumstances. It depends on the subject. For math, I need total silence, but for reading, I can work in a cafe with background noise. It depends on how tired I am. On a good day, I can focus for 2 hours straight. On a bad day, 20 minutes feels like forever.
Now let's bring all of this to life with a full conversation. I'll be Jamie and Maya will be Priya. They're classmates catching up after class.
Jamie, can I ask you something? We have the same amount of coursework, and you always seem so calm about it. What is your study routine actually like?
Oh, I appreciate that, but I promise the calm is mostly a performance. I have had to build my routine very deliberately because I am genuinely not someone who studies naturally. Left to my own devices, I would procrastinate until the absolute last possible moment and then panic.
That sounds exactly like me. So what changed for you?
Honestly, I burnt out badly in my second year. I was cramming everything at the end of term, surviving on almost no sleep, and I just completely collapsed. I could not retain anything. I was exhausted before I even walked into the exam room, and I remember sitting in the library at 2 in the morning thinking there has to be a better way. So after that semester, I completely rebuilt how I study.
What does that look like now?
So the biggest shift was consistency. I stopped treating studying as something I did when I felt like it and started treating it like a job. Specific hours, every day, non-negotiable. For me, that is 9 in the morning until around noon. Those 3 hours are protected. No social media, no texts, no exceptions. And I have found that doing it at the same time every day actually changes something in your brain. After a few weeks, you just sit down and your mind kind of shifts into gear automatically. It stops feeling like a battle.
9 to noon. So you are a morning person?
I am now by choice more than nature. I tend to be sharpest in the morning, and I have found that if I let the morning slip away, if I sleep in, scroll through my phone for an hour, have a long breakfast, by the time I sit down, that mental sharpness is already gone. So I protect the mornings quite fiercely. I check my phone after noon, not before.
That is such strong discipline. I struggle with that so much. I wake up and my phone is just right there.
I completely understand. I used to do the same thing. What helped me was charging my phone outside my bedroom, so when I wake up, it's just not there. It sounds like such a small thing, but it genuinely changed my mornings. You cannot reach for something that's not within reach.
That is actually brilliant. Okay, so mornings are protected. What do you actually do during those 3 hours?
I work in blocks, specifically 25 minutes of focused work, then a 5-minute break. It's called the Pomodoro technique. Maybe you've heard of it. I was skeptical at first because it seemed too simple, but it works incredibly well for me. Knowing that I only have to focus for 25 minutes makes it much less overwhelming to start. And those 5-minute breaks, I stand up, I move around, I get some water. It genuinely refreshes me before the next block.
So productivity is about shorter, more focused sessions rather than one long, exhausting one?
For me, absolutely. One thing that works really well for me is thinking of my study sessions as sprints, not marathons. When I tried to sit at a desk for 4 or 5 hours straight, my retention was terrible. I was just going through the motions. Now I do 2 or 3 focused blocks in the morning and I genuinely absorb more in those 90 minutes than I used to in 4 hours of half-distracted studying.
What about the material itself? How do you actually study? Do you just read and reread?
I used to, and it felt productive. I would finish a chapter feeling like I had done something. But then I would go to use the information and it would just not be there. That's when I discovered active learning. Now I almost never just read passively. After I read a section, I close the book and I try to write down everything I can remember in my own words, just from memory. Then I go back and check what I missed. That process, the act of trying to recall something, is what actually pushes information into your long-term memory. Passive reading barely does anything.
Okay, that's going to change the way I study. I've been rereading the same chapters thinking it was helping.
It's the most common study trap. It feels like learning because it's familiar, but familiarity is not the same as retention. If you can't recall it from memory, you haven't really learned it.
Do you use any apps or tools?
I use a few. I have a simple planner, physical, not digital, where I write my tasks for the week every Sunday night. Something about writing by hand makes it feel more real and committed. And I use flashcard apps for subjects that require a lot of memorization. The app spaces out the cards based on how well you know each one, so you review the things you're weakest on more frequently. It's called spaced repetition, and the research behind it is genuinely fascinating. It's one of the most effective memory techniques we know of.
I've heard of that, but never actually tried it. Do you study in silence or with music?
It depends on what I'm doing. For anything that requires real concentration, reading complex material, writing, working through problems, I need complete silence or close to it. But for tasks that are more mechanical, organizing my notes, making flashcards, reviewing things I already know well, I can work with low instrumental music in the background. Never music with lyrics, though. As soon as there are words, my brain starts listening to them and I lose focus.
That's so interesting. I always study with music, and I wonder now if it's actually hurting me.
Try a session without it and see how it feels. Some people do genuinely work well with music. It depends on the task and the person. I used to think I needed it, but when I tried silence, I realized how much mental bandwidth I was spending just filtering the music out.
What about when life gets in the way, like when you're tired or stressed or just completely not in the mood to study?
Oh, this is where discipline comes in, because motivation absolutely cannot be the thing you rely on. If I only studied when I felt motivated, I would study maybe twice a week. The truth is, most days I sit down to study without any particular enthusiasm. I just sit down anyway. I tell myself, just do one block, just 25 minutes. And almost every single time, once I start, it gets easier. Getting started is the hardest part. Once you're in it, inertia takes over and the session flows.
That's such a good way to think about it. Just one block.
And on the days when it really isn't working, when I'm genuinely exhausted or something difficult is going on, I give myself permission to stop, because I have found that pushing through when you're completely depleted doesn't actually produce useful studying. You just sit there feeling bad. Rest is not the opposite of productivity. Rest is part of it. The goal is sustainable consistency, not occasional heroism followed by burnout.
You mentioned burnout earlier. How do you actively avoid it now?
I build rest into my schedule the same way I build in study time. Weekends I study less, maybe one focused session on Saturday morning, then I genuinely rest. I go outside, I see friends, I read something I actually enjoy. I used to feel guilty about resting, like every minute not studying was wasted. But that mindset is actually what causes burnout. Your brain needs time to consolidate what it has learned. Sleep especially. Sleep is when your brain processes and stores the day's information. Skipping sleep to study more is one of the most counterproductive things you can do.
I'm absolutely guilty of that. All right, I feel like I need to completely redesign how I approach studying. Where would you tell someone to start if they wanted to change their routine?
Start with one thing, just one. Don't try to overhaul everything at once. That's overwhelming and you'll give up after a week. Pick one habit and build it for 3 weeks until it feels natural. If I were starting over, I would start with a consistent wake time. Every day, same time. That single anchor, waking up at the same hour, creates a structure that everything else can organize around. From there, you slowly add the other pieces, one at a time.
That is genuinely the most practical advice I've heard in a long time. Thank you, Jamie. I feel like I've learned more about studying in the last 10 minutes than I have in 3 years of university.
That's the goal. And honestly, you clearly already have the self-awareness. You know your weaknesses. That's already more than most people. The rest is just building the systems to support what you already want to do.
And that is what a rich, natural conversation about study routines sounds like in real English. Did you notice how naturally Jamie used words like consistency, retention, procrastination, productivity, burnout, discipline, and active learning, all woven into the conversation, never forced, never out of place?
And Priya's role in that conversation was just as important. Her questions, what does that look like now? And what about when life gets in the way? And where would you tell someone to start? Those follow-up questions are what makes a conversation feel real and alive. Learning to ask good questions is half of fluency.
Now, let's look at some common mistakes learners make when talking about their study habits in English, because this is a topic with some very specific language traps.
Mistake number 1, saying, I do study, instead of using more natural rhythm. In English, saying, every day I do study for 2 hours sounds unnatural. The more natural version is, I study for about 2 hours every day, or I put in around 2 hours of studying each day. Short, natural, no unnecessary structure around the verb.
Mistake number 2, using learn and study interchangeably. In English, these words have different meanings. To study means to engage with material, to sit down and work through it. To learn means to actually acquire knowledge or a skill. You study in order to learn. I study every day and I am learning Spanish are both correct, but I learn every day for 3 hours sounds odd. That should be I study every day for 3 hours.
Mistake number 3, overusing very to describe feelings about studying. Instead of studying is very hard, try studying is genuinely challenging, or I find it mentally exhausting, or it takes real discipline. Words like genuinely, deeply, remarkably, and considerably will add so much more color to your English than simply reaching for very every time.
Mistake number 4, not using time expressions naturally. English has a rich set of time expressions for talking about routines. First thing in the morning, late at night, right after dinner, in the early afternoon, during the week, on weekends. These small phrases make your English sound incredibly natural and paint a real picture of your daily life.
Mistake number 5, describing your routine in only present simple. While present simple is correct for routines, I wake up at 7, I study for 2 hours. Mixing in other structures makes your English flow much more naturally. I tend to wake up early. I have been trying to study more consistently lately. I used to study at night, but I switched to mornings. That variety is what makes you sound fluent rather than formulaic.
Now, your turn. In the comments below, write 2 or 3 sentences describing your study routine in English. Use at least 2 vocabulary words from today. Tell us, are you a morning studier or a night owl? Do you need silence or do you work better with music? We read every single comment, and we love watching you practice in real time.
And if this episode gave you something valuable, please give it a thumbs up right now. Share it with a classmate, a study partner, a friend who is working on their English. Every share helps one more learner find their confidence, and that matters deeply to both of us.
And if you are not subscribed yet, please, we are genuinely asking you with everything we have, hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. We believe in you. We believe in your ability to speak English with confidence and intelligence and real depth, and we are going to be right here with you every single step of the way.
We'll see you in the very next episode. Until then, stay consistent, stay curious, and remember, every great study session starts with simply sitting down. Start there. The rest follows.
Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.